Avatar Fire and Ash had some new competition at the box office but remained as number 1. Thanks for tuning in to this weekend's box office winners. Before we dive in, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss what movies are killing it at the box office. And now, let's get into the numbers. As mentioned, a new film released in theaters called Primate from Paramount Pictures. But Disney continues to dominate at the box office with Avatar Fire and Ash in its 4th weekend of release, still remaining at number 1. And we haven't seen a movie remain at the top spot of the box office for 4 weekends in a row since Barbie in July 2023. Avatar 3 made another $21.3 million, and dropping 49% from last weekend. And this is just an okay drop, but this is normal since the holidays are now over. James Cameron's 3rd Avatar film has now grossed $342 million in the States and $1.23 billion worldwide. For some perspective, Avatar 3 is now 34% behind domestically and 28% behind globally compared to Avatar The Way of Water. Now, Avatar The Way of Water eventually made $2.3 billion by the end of its run, but Avatar Fire and Ash is likely finishing around $1.6 billion, which is still impressive but is showcasing a downward trend for this franchise. Even so, Avatar 3 is now the 3rd highest grossing movie of 2025 and is only the 8th film in history to make over $159 million in IMAX screens alone. Truly showing the power of premium screens as we enter a new era in movie making and movie watching. Now, before we take a look at the rest of the top 10, let's take a detour and look at the 2025 box office as a whole. And this breakdown is strictly domestically as we take a look at the top 5 film studios of 2025. And the number 1 studio of 2025 was Disney, which released 10 films and several others under 20th Century Studios. And this is quite surprising since the studio had several flops like Snow White, Elio, and Tron Ares, and underperformers like Freakier Friday, Predator Badlands, and all 3 Marvel films, Thunderbolts, Captain America 4, and the Fantastic Four. But Disney still came out on top because of 3 massive hits, Lilo & Stitch, Zootopia 2, and Avatar Fire and Ash, which all made $1 billion at the box office and were the only 3 films from the Hollywood studios to make $1 billion. So even when Disney loses, they still win. The number 2 studio of 2025 was Warner Brothers, which released 11 films. And the studio truly had an epic run in theaters, as it made history, officially becoming the first studio to have 8 films consecutively open above $40 million, all in the same year, with only 3 major flops: The Alto Knights, Mickey 17, and Companion. The studio had 8 box office successes, with One Battle After Another being a huge awards contender, Final Destination 6, Weapons, The Conjuring 4, F1, Sinners, Superman, and Minecraft. It's been a wonderful year for Warner Brothers, and I truly hope that Netflix purchasing Warner Brothers doesn't instill too much damage on Hollywood. The 3rd highest grossing studio of the year was Universal, which released 15 films in 2025. And surprisingly, most of Universal's flops came from Blumhouse, which really needs a restructuring. Some major flops include Love Hurts, Drop, Wolfman, The Woman in the Yard, Megan 2.0, and Him. Plus some good moneymakers like Gabby's Dollhouse, Dogman, The Black Phone 2, and The Bad Guys 2. And some major hits for the studio include Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Wicked for Good, the How to Train Your Dragon live-action film, and Jurassic World Rebirth. Coming in at number 4 was Sony Pictures with 15 wide releases in 2025, with flops like A Big Bold Beautiful Journey, Sisu, Road to Revenge, Soul on Fire, Caught Stealing, and Until Dawn. But the studio also had some mid-range hits like Hard Eyes, Anaconda, the I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot, and Paddington, with some mini hits like One of Them Days, Karate Kid Legends 28 Years Later, and 2 major hits thanks to their Crunchyroll partnership with Demon Slayer Infinity Castle and Chainsaw Man. Lastly, from the major studios, Paramount Pictures came at number 5, as the struggling studio released 8 major films in 2025, with flops like Novocaine, Roofman, The Running Man, and some small hits like Smurfs, The SpongeBob Movie, Regretting You, and The Naked Gun, with some films being saved by their worldwide gross. And the studio had no major hits, as Mission Impossible 8 was their highest grossing movie of the year, but had such a high budget that the studio still lost money because of it. And those were the 2025 box office hits and losers. And now let's take a look at the rest of the top 10 for this weekend. Paramount was slightly able to nag the number 2 spot away from The Housemaid, as Primate opened to $11.2 million in the States. The first horror film of 2026 received a B- cinema score, and the film skewed male at 58% and led with younger audiences ages 18 to 34 at 59%. As for the audience breakdown, it was 35% Latino/Hispanic, 35% Caucasian, 20% Black, and 7% Asian American. At number 3 was The Housemaid, making another $11.2 million in its 4th weekend and dropping an incredible 26%. The film has now made $94 million domestically and $192 million worldwide, as it keeps gaining momentum, especially now since a sequel has already been confirmed. At number 4 was Zootopia 2, making another $10.1 million in its 7th weekend and dropping a great 48%. The film has now made $378 million in the States and $1.65 billion worldwide, officially becoming the 12th highest grossing movie of all time. At number 5 was newcomer Greenland 2 Migration, debuting with $8.5 million. Gerard Butler is back. However, audiences didn't enjoy their time with him as much, as this film received a low B- cinema score. Coming in at number 6 was A24's Marty Supreme, making another $7.6 million and dropping 39%. The film has now made $70 million domestically and $78 million worldwide, officially becoming A24's second biggest movie of all time domestically, only behind Everything Everywhere All at Once. At number 7 was Sony's Anaconda, which made $5.1 million and dropped 49% this weekend. This new reboot has now made $54 million in the States and $110 million worldwide. At number 8 was the SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants, making another $3.8 million and dropping 54%. The film has now made $63 million domestically and $132 million worldwide. And coming in at number 9 was David with another $3 million and dropping 60%. It's now made $75 million worldwide, and it's Angel Studios' second biggest film of all time, only behind Sound of Freedom. And rounding out the top 10 was Song Sung Blue, making another $3 million and dropping 49%, as the film has now made $31 million in the States and $40 million worldwide. And that wraps up this weekend's box office winners. Let me know down below what movie, if any, did you see in theaters this weekend? And don't forget to like and subscribe, and tune in next weekend to see 28 Years Later, Bone Temple, and Madagascar re-release in theaters. And as always, keep watching.